What's going on, everyone? It's been a minute. Yeah, give me just a second. I'm just trying to get all my stuff together. I haven't done this in quite some time, so please bear with me. What's going on, everyone? It's been a minute. Yeah, give me just a
Checking
second. I'm
the
just
sound
trying to
quality right now.
try to see if I could capture just application. Yeah, let me see if I could just do it like this. Yeah, it's a lot better. Trying to get this together. It's been a minute since the last time I did a stream. I'm trying to test everything out because, man, I don't know, I'm a little rusty right now. What's going on, SD? How's everything going on with you? All right, let me go ahead. I'm on YouTube playing around with certain things and stuff. So hopefully my chat will come in, but I don't think it will. So I'm probably going to do some monitoring. So let me see here. You might see me go a little bit back and forth on certain things, so please forgive me while I do that. Yeah, it's a little bit of a late stream today, but I don't know. I got kind of bored and I wanted to do something a little bit different today, so why not go ahead and stream today? But man, it's been a long time since I streamed, and I'm excited to get back into it again. I'm gonna be rusty, so I know I'm gonna make some mistakes, but there's been a lot of news been dropping left and right for the last couple of weeks, and I was gonna do some videos on it, but you know what? I might as well go ahead and do a stream on it just to talk about it. I think one of the first things that we could talk about is Dolby Vision 2. See if it's even worth the update. And then also we're going to talk about this RGB mini LED TVs that Sony seems to be dropping some more news on. Seems like TCL has already have one going to be in place for next year. Also, Hisense as well is going to start doing that for their lower tier models. So just want to kind of like talk about that for a minute and just see how this going. Let me go ahead and say what's going on to the chat. What's going on, Just Frazier? How's everything going? Let me see here. Man, it has been a minute since I did this. But let's go ahead and start talking about this whole Dolby Vision 2. And is it a gimmick or is it something that everyone has to get? I don't know. I'm been reading these articles, I've been looking at some videos left and right, and been kind of, I don't know, what should I say? Kind of on the fence with the whole Dolby Vision 2, as in picture quality wise. I don't know, I mean, it's a good thing that we're starting to get some more updates here and there. But it's just the thing is, I don't know if this is going to be backwards compatible with the latest TVs from 2025. I think this is going to be coming out with newer TVs. From what I am hearing, it's going to be kind of interesting to hear a little bit more about this. But I kind of wanted to dive into this a little bit more. The only TV so far that announced Dolby Vision 2 is Hisense with their RGB mini LED TVs, but let's just face it. I mean, nobody's not gonna be paying over $25,000, $30,000 for a Hisense RGB mini LED TV right now. So that's the only TV that seemed that it could be compatible, but they're saying that they are going to have some other previous models. But one of the things that I want to kind of go over in particularly is some of the content or what is supposed to be the next gen Adobe Vision. So they say Adobe Vision 2 is supposed to be powered by a redesigned and even more powerful image engine. He said this new engine, when combined with Dolby Vision extension content ecosystem, unlocks even more out of your TV. What does that really even mean? So it's supposed to have better content. It's supposed to have more better fidelity, and it says it's supposed to help with the precision blacks when it reduces consumers' frustration when it comes to images being too dark, making it more crystal clear when it comes to clarity and viewing the environment without compromising artistic intent. I don't know how I feel about that, but yeah, one thing that did kind of catch my eye with this, it says supposed to also give a light sense fine-tuned picture quality through advanced ambient light detection for new reference lighting data from content source to optimize your TV for the ideal viewing experience. I don't know. That seemed like a little bit of a red flag in my area. But there's one thing I kind of do kind of like is the sports and gaming optimization is supposed to enhance such as white point adjustment, motion control designed specifically to address unique needs when it comes to live sporting and gaming. So when it comes to motion, I did think this is interesting, and I think this is what I from what I'm reading here in this article, that's going to be advantage when it comes to motion wise, especially when you see the motion handling, how TVs do it. It's supposed to do a better way of handling that information. So I'm interested to see more about the whole Dolby Vision 2. I was trying to dig up some articles. The only thing that I really saw that came out was from techradar.com, and this person by Matt Bolton was talking about you saw the differences when Dolby Vision 2 makes on the cheap TVs. They're way bigger than what you expect. So Dolby experts explain how it works. So I didn't go into too much into this article, but they had the IFA 2025 recently, and they was doing some demos on their latest TV, and Dolby Labs was there. We're talking about the Dolby Vision 2, more the next gen version of the premium HDR format. So one thing that kind of like stuck out is that they're gonna have like different versions, which I don't know. That in my opinion, I think that's a red flag when you have two different versions because it's telling me that you're gonna be paying a premium for when it comes to Dolby Vision 2. So I don't know if Sony's gonna take advantage of this. I don't know if LG is gonna take advantage of this. And so I know Hyson is going to take this, but we don't know what type of version tier that they're going to take from Dolby Vision. I'm hoping more than likely that they'll go with the Dolby Vision 2 Max version, but I really don't like how these companies are doing these different tiers just so consumers will pay more money for this special feature when it comes to Dolby Vision. But looking at this article from right here, let me see here if I could go into detail. Is that it said that it knows that it used the word perceived a lot above, but because when we saw things that look brighter, it may cause, I believe, no additional brightness being found in a Hisense TV. He said, da, 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 da. He said one of the key features called precision black that enables creators to add information about their bias lighting. Bias light that slides that helps set the first perceived step out of pure blacks into near black levels where there still be some details. So as I'm reading more about this information, I don't know if it's something that you have to do in the picture setting or Dolby Vision 2 will just take care of that. But I don't know, it's just something that we just have to wait more information on. I don't know if it's going to give you better details from looking at this article. But they were just talking about more of I don't know, there's more of a marketing term, as in mentioned before, is making them look more true to life. It says a slider that's is a saying that step out of black that's supposed to help avoid dark scenes. Looking into the dark on the TVs, it don't have much dark handling capabilities. To make more details that isn't lost by these tones getting squashed or squashed together without enough separation. So I don't know if I don't know how that's gonna work. I don't know what the differences with your own picture settings that you could do. I know Sony, LG, Hisense. I believe all the TV manufacturers have their own type of settings that kind of help with that, except for TCL. I will say TCL because I know LG, they have a lot of different settings, and even a little bit of Samsung that kind of help with it when it comes to shadow detail. But I know LG and Sony do a good job. When I'm talking about settings wise, I'm not saying as in picture quality wise, but when it comes to settings, there is some options where you do get to play around with it when it comes to shadow detail and when it comes to blacks. uh, how each manufacturer does it is purely based on people's preferences. I know for Sony specifically, I know Sony does a good job with that. LG does a okay, okay when it comes to certain things. I know people are talking about the G5, talk about a lot of the issues when it comes to the artifacting, especially when it comes out of black. So I haven't really seen it that much. I haven't really say I tested the TV to really experience that. But I know they have some settings within the picture that you're able to tweak here and there when it comes to that detail. Uh Hisense has something like that as well. Samsung has something similar as well, but you know Samsung is not going to be adopting Dolby Vision 2. Maybe one day they will, but it seemed like HDR10, HDR10 Plus is their go-to because they don't want to for the licensing. And so that's kind of like that's a whole nother discussion on its own. But looking at Hisense, TCL, Sony, LG, they might have the option to adopt this Dolby Vision 2. But I mean, this news just came out last week. Is not too much to really go off of. I really wish they kind of would. I don't know when they come out with these type of announcements. I really wish they have a before and after type image to show exactly what they do. Say using a lot of these marketing terms to kind of help people to jump in and say, "Oh, you have to get the latest and greatest features." Those are kind of like the things that just visually, especially when it comes to TV, visually, you need to see a pure example of what it's doing, especially when it's in action, especially when it comes to motion, especially when it comes to picture quality. What is it doing prior to Dolby Vision 2? What are the differences between the tiers? I mean, you could talk about it when you do bullet points breakdown, but when you actually see it in action, those are kind of like the things that they need to start having as well when it comes to doing something like this. So this is just something that I think it's interesting, but it's not a lot to go off of. Am I excited for it? To be honest with you, I'm kind of like lukewarm on it. It's just like every time they come out with these latest features, especially like the Dolby Vision IQ that came out a couple years ago, where I think it was exclusive to LG, and I believe Hisense had it at the time too, and it really didn't do too much to the picture quality except for here and there when it comes to the picture settings, but it didn't do too much. But it was just the same thing with that. It's a whole bunch of marketing stuff that you didn't see too much of a difference of it. So that's kind of like another thing that is just like when you hear Dolby Vision 2 is great, but then it's like there's so many other questions that you want to ask as in, is it going to be only for newer TVs? Is it going to be backwards compatible? What about if it's going to be working with your old 4K Blu-ray collection? Is it going to be backwards compatible with that? Which I highly doubt that they would do that. What about like your set top box when it comes to streaming devices like your Apple TV or your Nvidia Shield or your dongle? Is it going to be working with that? Are What are the limitations of this features? I don't know. It's just like I start to go down these rabbit holes, and I don't want to be like super negative when it comes to that. But it's just like when it comes to Dolby Vision gaming, you don't have a lot of people that's adopting that format. So, eh, I don't know. Just one of those type of things that I'm just kind of like looking at here. But yeah, I wanted to just kind of get this out and do a stream on it instead of just me doing a video, showing my excitement over this. So, but what I am excited about is Sony's RGB LED for the Bravia 9 Mark II and the Bravia 7 Mark II. So these are not official, but the rumors are starting to speculate of the next year's Sony TVs, and I'm really excited about this because there seems to be some articles more that talking about the differences, and is it something that OLED technology should be scared about? I don't know. One person said that they is going to be interesting. They said swear up and down that is OLED has a lot to do, especially with this new what Sony is having cooked up for their RGB mini LED. I don't know what that really means because you only going off of one person article, but looking at here, especially when they talk about it seemed like the next step in upgrades when it comes to LED TVs is the RGB mini LED TVs. And this is something that really excited about. I know people are saying like, well, why you haven't did a lot of reviews or did any reviews in 2025? And I'm just going to be really frank with everyone. I thought the 2025 TVs were good, but I didn't really feel like a lot of them were great. And I know I'm going probably going to get a lot of backlash on that, but the only TV that I did like so far is I did like the Sony Bravia 8 Mark II, and I also like the LG G5. And I think I like the LG G5 a little bit more just because of the HDR impact. I haven't taken it home and did any testing or anything like that, but other than that, those TVs and the Samsung S95F is a good TV, but y'all know how I feel about it when it comes to matte screen, and people are been trying to swear up and down that matte screens is not that bad, but when it comes to true black, when it comes to the glossy screen, I have an issue, especially when it comes to having light shine on the TV, especially on dark scenes, and it start to look a little bit grayish in certain areas and stuff. Because I have monitors that have matte screens, and they suffer from that all the time. And especially with the contrast wise, I feel like the contrast look better on the glossy screen and gives it more three-dimensional pop, in my opinion. So I know people who are on the Samsung's matte side, probably saying like, "I can't believe you're saying that," but that's just my preference. It's just like when I see a matte screen, you can't really convince me otherwise. It's just like when it comes to glossy screen, it's just to me, I feel like the contrast and the levels of black looks better and more 3D dimensional when it comes to matte screen. But depending on who's buying the TV, I think it all depends on their use case scenario. But in my opinion, I really don't think Samsung they did a better job than last year's version. But like I said, the matte screen is a turn off to me. Now the S90F, I think that's a really nice TV, especially at the price point that I did a video on last week. On especially, I think the prices are today is Sunday now, so the prices probably changed. Well, for a 77-inch that I looked at last week, it was going for $2,300, which is pretty crazy. But going back, circling back to the whole 2020, 2025 TVs, I just wasn't really all that impressed with it. So that's just my opinion. But when it comes to RGB mini LED TVs, I am really excited about that. And I want to see what's going to be going on with that. I think that Flat Panels HD has done a good job as in kind of like breaking it down, as in talking about what the technology is. Sony is taking the panel from TCL, and is supposed they supposed to be announcing it at C. Well, Sony's not going to announce it. We'll see, but more than likely, TCL is going to be announcing their new TVs next year at CES 2026. So and then Sony's going to have their separate event depending on when they have their TVs launch. So probably going to be in March, February or March, depending on how soon they want to release their TVs. So you know how Sony want to be separate from everyone else. But it's going to be interesting to see how Sony implementation is going to be or what they're going to do compared to what the other manufacturers are going to do. Because Samsung doing their own thing, but they are using the TCL panel. Hisense is doing their own thing, but they have their own specific panel. And then TCL, I mean, everybody from Samsung and Sony, they are using the same TCL panel. So TCL is going to be doing their own flavor as well too when it comes to their RGB mini LED TVs. But just looking at this technology, and I do want to give a shout out to High Def. He posted this on his Twitter account as well. But looking at this, they do a breakdown of what the Bravia 9 Mark II is. So it looks like they may be going up from, it looks like 65 to 115 inch, but it's not quite clear if that's, like I said, it's rumors. But the Bravia 7 Mark II is going to be ranging as well from 50 to 100 inch. So we'll see how is that going to handle when it gets closer and closer to the announcement. One thing I didn't really care about too much about the well, for Sony specifically, is that we don't know what type of MediaTek chip that they're going to be using. And it's just like, yeah, they're going to be using the new mini LED RGB technology, but I really, really hope is they upgrade the Pentonic chip and we'll get four HDMI 2.1s, because it seemed like Sony is really lagging when it comes to that area compared to the other manufacturers. And I really hope they step up their game. I don't know. I don't know what you guys feel about it. I'm just looking at the comments right now, and it just seems like yes, a lot of people, getting a little bit excitement about the RGB mini LED TV. So let me go ahead and kind of like bring up this article that this one person did see. The next gen RGB LED TV tech. This is from Stuff Magazines. Pause. Yeah, so stuff.tv featured this, and Chris Hall, Chris Hall is the one that did this article. You can see here that he was invited, and he said he was very impressed with the Sony RGB mini LED technology. So one thing, let me see if I could go into this article specifically. He's just talking about this in detail, blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. Let me see here. He's talking about Dolby Vision 2. Um, Let me see here. Whether RGB would took things beyond the brightness could achieve. Let me see here. I think I just missed the part where they were just talking about. Yeah, here it is. Sony didn't confirm the brands that these OLED TVs were. Oh, here's what. Here we go. Here we go. This is what I was reading. Um, in the same demo, they said that Sony RGB LED tech was compared to two types of OLEDs. So they didn't talk about this more specifically, what type of OLED TVs that they had. But one says a WOLED, which is what LG uses, for example, the LG G5. And then there was a QD OLED, which you'll find in Samsung S90F. Sony didn't confirm the brands that these OLED TVs were, but did confirm that it was an RGB tandem OLED display. So, so they're saying that they did compare this to more than likely the G5, or it could have been the Panasonic, one of those two TVs. They said in the article, he said it wasn't prepared for how well the RGB LED would stand up against the OLED. While those OLED TVs offer a superior black handling than the mini LED they were set against, but the RGB LED was comparable. So this kind of like really caught my eye. Where the RGB LED took things beyond OLED was its brightness, which we kind of already knew this is going to be happening. But what also caught my eye was the richness of the colors. Do I got my sound effects working? Let me see if this works. Let me see if this works. Nope, don't got my sound effects working. Thought my sound effects is working. I gotta work on that. But anyway. Oh, there we go. I think that's the sound effects. Okay, that ain't work. I gotta work on that on the next stream. Worry about that. But yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting that we knew about the brightness, but the richness in colors, that's something that I'm a little bit reserved about when it comes to. I don't know what this person is saying. So, but he also talked about, he said colors are something that OLED is already known for. We know that when it comes to infinite contrast, so that's a lot to play with it because that's part of the technology. But Sony is saying that you'll get 4 times the color volume of QD OLED. And I really wish my sound device was working right now. This would be one of those type of things. Let me see it here. Can it work? Oh, there we go. There we go. I got it. Let me know if y'all can hear it. I know I got it. I know it was working somehow. Yeah, but I don't know. When I was reading this article and when it says 4 times the color volume of QD OLED, that's something. I mean, yeah, it's part of marketing. SD. I agree with you with that. Uh I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see what they're going to do. We all know it's going to be super expensive when this TV comes out. But it's beyond that, Sony is talking about the reference level color accuracy. See if this works again. The color accuracy. So, when it comes to reference level color accuracy, it's applying that's a level beyond what we have seen on standard televisions. Hmm. It says not going to be just for large TVs. He says Sony isn't the first company to show off the RGB LED, but Samsung also announced their micro RGB TVs last month, which a lot of people has been talking about as well too, using similar technology. And you saw a lot of people was already doing videos on there. FOMO, Brian, um, for their work. Yeah, it's pretty much a lot of content creators were already had videos on the Samsung micro RGB TVs. So it's exciting to see that's what's going to be coming up next year. So it's going to be very similar to what Hisense and Sony and uh, TCL is going to be doing. So I wonder what that's really going to be in store when it comes to that. And he said both of these existing RGB LED models are supposed to be over 100 inch. They're supposed to say huge, which is I like how they're saying that. So that's gonna be it's probably gonna be, let's just face it, it's gonna be like a $20,000 TV. But but that's not all that the tech can do. So Sony firstly outlined to me that there's a big advantage in larger screens. He said having the power to deliver visuals, cutting through reflections while offering enhanced viewing angles too. So we already know about that's one of the strengths about uh LED TVs in general is their bigger size television form factors. That's one thing that OLED can't seem to get into that area yet. Like even Samsung right now, Samsung biggest QD OLED or largest QD OLED TV is a 77 inch, and then you got LG that has a 83-inch version, and that's kind of like affordable to the majority of consumers. But then they got a 98-inch version that is around the $20,000 range, which a lot of people is not going to pay for. But seeing that LCD, LED TVs, mini LED TVs, especially like TCL and Hisense, they have 115-inch screen TVs that is l- more affordable. It's not in like the 20,000 range unless you get a Hisense RGB mini LED TV. But if you're talking about the other lower tier TVs, you could get 115-inch screen TVs for a lesser price. And a lot of people now are replacing their projectors to get those type of TVs because you're getting almost like a better experience if you could only fit between, like a 120-inch screen. Projectors seems to, I mean, unless you have a wall that could go up to 200 inches when it comes to screen size. Had to pause right there. But looking at TV, especially in the LED realm, it seemed like they are going over the 100-inch screen, and it seemed like a lot of consumers are taking advantage of that. So SD, I don't know. No, they haven't done that yet. You know what? All this time I had that starting soon on the back of my screen. Yeah, I didn't realize that. Uh yeah, they have had it's a rumor that they talked about the Bravia 10, but it wasn't officially announced yet. They may do that for next year and they said like the Bravia 9 Mark II is RGB mini LED TVs, but I think it might go up to a certain size and then they might do the Bravia 10, which is um they might go for the higher screen TVs. So that's something that they may announce, but we don't know yet. So, but looking at here, they was just talking about here Hisense TVs in the market right now, but it just is like the prices are too high. So he said Sony is staying and see what they might do when it comes to the RGB TV production. So the Bravia 9 Mark II could be announced as their new flagship model for CES 2026, but we all know that Sony doesn't do CES like they used to. So, they're going to have their own separate event. But it is exciting to see that this comparison that this person came in this article is here. And we only going off of one person viewpoint of showing the comparison between the OLED television. And then also too, they have their own area where they do the demos, and then we don't know what type of content that it is using too. So that's kind of like another thing that I'm taking this for a grain of salt. Is it going to be better than OLED? Probably not. Like I said, we all know that OLED is the cream of the crop when it comes to picture quality. I still want to see what RGB LED TVs have in store, especially when it comes to bigger sizes and stuff, because I have an 85-inch. I still have the X95K. But for me, I am not going to a smaller screen. The only thing is, I will be going to a bigger screen if I decide to upgrade. And so, this is why I get really excited when it comes to newer technology, because this is something that we get in better picture quality. But I don't know, it just comes down to pricing, as in like how much Sony, well, Sony's going to charge their premium just like how they do for everything else. So it's just a question is how much they're going to charge. And then the other question that I have in my mind too is that if Sony is really trying to push this RGB mini LED technology, then my next question is that what about OLED? Are they still going to dabble in that area? More than likely, they're probably still going to have a TV here and there. But you can see this year, they really didn't have a huge lineup. I mean, we had the Bravia 8 Mark II, and then they had another tier OLED television that kind of like snuck around, under the radar that not a lot of people are talking about. That is a WOLED that they use an LG display, but nobody hasn't talked about it or reviewed that TV as of yet. That's supposed to be cheaper for consumers. So I wonder if maybe Sony might be getting out of the OLED realm. I'm thinking not. I think they're probably going to continue to do 2026. But seeing how Sony is trying to dabble more into the area of mini LED technology, I wouldn't be surprised if they starting to see more value in that area, especially when it comes to how much money that they can make. So I don't know. Those are just kind of like one of my things I'm just thinking about in my head. So I want to just kind of like do the stream, make it short. I'm not gonna be on too long. I want to just see. I haven't been on here for a minute. Just want to go ahead and start a stream to say hey to everyone. Oh, what's going on, Plasma? Plasma TV for gaming. So, oh, shout out. Oh, yeah, go and check his channel out. Yeah, you know what? I just decided to do a stream out the blue because I don't know. I've been watching a lot of videos lately and I've been thinking, like, oh, I should do this video on this or I should do this video on that. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just go in this stream and see what happens and stuff. So, I'd rather just do the streaming part. I might do more streaming now because it's just like is I like to interact with a lot more people now once I get my setup together. But um yeah, I'm a little rusty right now because I haven't been doing content. I've been content like for the last couple of months. And I always be making excuses because the first time I was really sick. I couldn't do no videos for quite some time. And then I took another hiatus. But now I'm back. Now I'm back. I want to start doing some more video and do some more video content. So, yeah. So, other than that, let me see if anybody got any questions on here. He said, if QD LED is killed off He said, I may just retire from the hobby. Samsung continued to disappoint. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of things about Samsung and their firmware updates. Um, excuse me, I got this. Had to pop the scan open. But yeah, I've been hearing a lot of things about Samsung and their firmware updates. I've been watching some reviews on the Samsung Frame Pro. I think that's the Samsung Frame Pro that they been doing. Yeah, the Samsung Frame Pro. And I saw it at Best Buy. I thought it was a decent TV. It's just like they're charging way too much for what they're doing, and I think it's awful that you have to pay a certain amount just to get their pictures on there. I think it's like $50 a year or whatever this subscription base is. And don't let me go down that rabbit hole because it's like we already paying so much in streaming services. And I may do a video about that because it's just like it's these subscription bases getting out of hand with it. When it comes to Disney Plus, Hulu, Netflix, HBO Max, Amazon Prime, Paramount Plus, Crunchyroll. Yeah, so yeah, it's just like for Samsung they add a fee just for looking at their pictures and stuff or displaying their pictures on their frame. I don't know. I think it's stupid. Stupid that they have that. And it's just like their firmware updates. I was looking at this one video, and I can't remember this person's name, but he's pretty popular uh, with his content when he did his review of the Samsung frame. And he just flat out just said, don't buy the TV. He said that TV right now is so buggy when it comes to their firmware updates. And he just got so frustrated with it. And so I'm just thinking about people who owns the S95F. I haven't heard too much about that or the S90F, but I will say that the S90F, I'm still impressed with that TV. I think it's for 77 inch for $2,300. I think that's a I think that's a way better value than, do I dare to say, the S95F. I don't know. It's a lot to do with the screen technology because I'm not really into the matte screen, but um yeah, I don't know. The S90F, I think that's a sleeper. I know people have been talking about the S90F, but I think the S90F is a really nice TV. If you're talking about mini LED TVs from Samsung, the QN90, yeah, the QN90F, that TV doesn't look great at all, especially if you're comparing it to the QN80F. Um, Yet again, because it's different coding. And then the QN900F, which I saw as well too. I wasn't really impressed with that TV. The 8K television, um, the QN90F was a lot brighter than the QN900F for 8K television. I understand when it comes to 4K and 8K that takes a lot more power and to drive 8K and make it less bright compared to 4K. But it's just the thing is you're paying that premium for an 8K television. But I hope that Samsung will continue making 8K televisions and stuff. Because hopefully in the future when they come out with bigger screens, maybe 8K technology may have a future, but as of right now, I don't see that happening in 2025. I also don't see that happening in 2026. But they are talking about some new Wi-Fi technology that is going to be coming out pretty soon. That I was reading some articles on where now they are capable to stream 8K content. But the question is that who's going to take advantage of that? That's probably going to be 5 years out to see people actually really take advantage of 8K technology over Wi-Fi and stuff. But I could be wrong. It could happen in the next couple of years. But for me, I rather see 3D more than 8K. But that's just kind of like my thing. That would be a good feature to have for next year instead of this whole Dolby Vision 2 and stuff like that as in this marketing stuff. Because, I've always been a proponent when it comes to 3D technology because, I still have my 3D movies. I don't know. I thought I had it somewhere, but I must have put it up somewhere. But yeah, I always had the 3D movies that I always hope that one day will come back to life. But yeah, that's just me just being hopeful. Let me see here. I'm just looking at the tech. This is looking at the chat right now. Yeah, I do agree that Samsung is. I don't know. Just do some weird things with their firmware updates. But I will say this, Samsung is not the only one. Sony has made mistakes as well too. LG also made mistakes as well too because people was really upset about the G5 when it first released. And I know they made some fixes here and there, but Samsung is notorious to change a lot of things and make stuff worse and stuff like that. So I don't know. I could say all manufacturers are have issues when it comes to firmware updates and stuff. So, but Samsung is notorious to making those each updates worse and stuff. So, but at the same time too, that's one of the things that you just uh, name of the game when it comes to technology wise. So you buy the TV and you love it, and then you make an update and it's completely different. So that is Samsung MO. That's how they always been doing things. So yeah. But other than that, I'm about to go ahead and sign off because I just realized how late it's starting to get. But yeah, I just wanted to do the stream. Yeah, if y'all want me to start doing, well, I'm not gonna ask y'all if y'all think I am going to do some more stream because I need to start getting out of my shell more. I need to start talking to everyone right here. I need to get more out there when it comes to content creation. I took a break. I feel refreshed now. I want to start talking to all content creators. I want to talk to Plasma. I want to get KG back on here. Talk to FOMO Brian. I want to get, start to really start to get things together. I did mention that I had some ideas of what I want to do with the content creation going forward. I still I'm going to talk about just a little bit and stuff. So if you guys didn't know, I come from a design background, so create websites and stuff like that. I haven't talked about it too much, but yeah, I create websites, work on mobile apps here and there and stuff. And so my idea that I have for future videos or upcoming videos, depending on how long it takes me to actually design some of this stuff, is that I want to redesign some of the manufacturer of menus, and I want to see what you guys think of that and stuff. And one of the things that drives me nuts about Sony and Samsung and LG, as in how counterintuitive when it comes to their user interface is. And I think that if I do some minor changes here and there and get feedback from you guys, I can make a on demand change. And then if people start to really like those type of changes, then Sony, Samsung, LG, Hyson, TCL will take a look at some of those type of videos and say, "Oh, that's a good idea. Why can't we do something like that?" And then they go ahead and just take the design and make it better, and they can implement it for future TVs. So those are kind of like some of the things I was kind of like thinking for going forward to make myself a little bit different than content creators. Because I know I've been complaining about Sony's settings and their menus for the longest time, especially when it comes to the HDMI part. Because since Sony has two HDMI 2.1, I really what really grinds my gears is that I had to go into the settings and I had to constantly switch from the enhanced to enhanced with Dolby Vision. It really makes me nuts when I have to do that. Same thing with when it comes to Samsung, where you can't really toggle when it comes to different inputs. I shouldn't have to go to a secret menu on the remote just to do this, this, and this. You just should just make it self-explanatory when it comes to the menu. LG, on the other hand, LG is decent. Well, LG is okay. I want to say decent. Well, I would say decent, but it's just like they had these tiers of menus that you could get yourself confused about, especially when you go into the settings. And so I have another idea as well too. Yeah, I could talk about it because it's like I'm pretty much open with a lot of a lot of the stuff. Is that when I'm making this UI design change, and I'm going to show you guys what it looks like, and whoever manufacturers takes a look at it, is that when you go into the picture settings, especially, let's just say I just talk about Samsung, for example, you go ahead and change the brightness or you change the color on the settings, and you kind of look at the picture as you're tweaking it, and you kind of see some of the changes, but you don't see too much of a drastic change. What I would like to see, and this is just an idea, if they have a split screen that has a before and after, so you can see any tweaks that you make on the after screen compared to the original. And then you can see like if you like it or you don't like it. And then you can make those tweaks here and there, and then you can make it to your preferable preferences. That's an idea that I was kind of like thinking about for the longest time. Sony, Samsung, TCL, Hisense, LG, you could take that idea if you want to. But I'll design it for you guys to see exactly what it does or what I'm thinking it should do. Or would it be cool if you go into a specific setting and you see the description of what it's supposed to do? Once you start tweaking it, would you like to see on the picture where it's showing that tweaks are? Those are kind of like some of the ideas that I was having at the top of my head. But those are just things that I just kind of thought about. I just never really put into a video yet because doing design changes and stuff like that and getting the actual mock-up does take a long time. So that's been another thing of mine that has been taking me a long time to do. But I want to kind of share that with everyone is because that's where kind of like my head is at. Because one thing I have noticed when it comes to reviews, including mine's and comes to everybody else who does reviews on TVs, we always talk about some of the things that we like to see changes, especially when it comes to settings and picture stuff. But when it comes to manufacturing and feedback and what they want to do for next year, you really don't know if they make those changes or not. So those are kind of like the things that visually I could kind of show you guys what I'm kind of like thinking, and manufacturers could either take the idea or they could scrap it or they say this they can't do it because of the processing or whatever the case may be. But those are kind of like some of the things I just kind of thought about during that time. But yeah, it's just like when I look at Sony menus, I think I mean, just being honest, I think they could do a better job when it comes to the UI, especially when you hit the menu pops up from the bottom, and then you go through these settings. You have to go through these long settings, you have to scroll through it and stuff like that. I have another idea that I want to kind of like show how it will be more nicer or more aesthetically pleasing when it comes to that. And then when you click on the picture setting, then you have another picture that comes up on from the side, which kind of like takes me out of the experience. And then I have to go through this drop down box within the drop down box to see exactly what these settings are. I think it could be a little bit better when it comes to that UI part. LG does the same thing too. Samsung does the same thing. They have gotten better, but I noticed that it's been slow updates here and there where they'll put some pictures and they put some icons where you flick through it and it kind of like toggles and do a little bit of animations. But I think they could do a little bit better job in that area. That's why I kind of like see where manufacturers like Sony, TCL, and Hisense, and yeah, those three manufacturers that I could think of at the top. Yeah, those three manufacturers kind of lean over to Google TV is because they don't have to worry about the UI interface when it comes to that area. But if you look at Samsung and LG, they like to keep everything in house when it comes to their UI and it comes to their settings and home menu and stuff like that. So those are kind of like the things that I like to do and tinker with and stuff. But I don't know. It's just ideas that I'm just kind of like talking off the cuff, but just got to put that in the video just to show you guys what I visually see and to get feedback from you guys, and then we can make some tweaks here and there for future videos and stuff. Because I could talk about TV technology all day long. I could talk about it for a long time, but I want to make myself a little bit different when it comes to other creators because it seems like I just don't want to be in those theme where do unboxing, do a review, do a comparison and stuff like that. I want to take something in a little bit of a different direction. I still like to do that, but I also want to put a spin to it, as in showing that if I give a bad feedback, well, I don't want to say bad feedback. If I critique a manufacturer when it comes to certain things, I would like to show them visually what I would like to see change. And so they kind of give an idea, as in, like, oh, yeah, I could do this for next year, or I could do this in a firmware update, just like how Sony gaming menu, I think is okay, but I really wish they kind of implemented like the PlayStation 5 UI, and then I would like to see some other customization when it comes to that. Samsung does a really good job with that. LG does a good job at that as well too. But I notice when it comes to Samsung and LG, they still sticking with what's not broke, you know, better not fix it and stuff. I'd like to see some updates as well, as in how the way that looks from both manufacturing side. But that's just my opinion. I see TCL has been doing a better job, but I didn't kind of like how their gaming menu comes up with it. It comes with the top and the bottom and stuff like that. Hyson has did a good job. Has I don't want to say a good job, but they did a decent job. Panasonic do an okay job as well too. But yeah, those are some of the things I've just been kind of like thinking about for a while for future videos. It's just the thing is the reason why I haven't came up with the video yet is because it takes some time to actually design that and show you guys and actually demo it in a video. And so those are kind of like the things that I've been kind of like tinkering with in the background. But in the meantime, I'm still going to keep on giving you news and future reviews and in those areas, and keep on doing streaming while I finally come up with a video, and then yeah, just show those type of ideas and stuff. So but yeah, those are just kind of like the things I've been thinking about for a very long time that I haven't seen a reviewer do. So maybe because I come from a design background, so I think this is a good opportunity to kind of switch that up a little bit, to kind of show what I think should look like. And then it might look like trash. Who knows? And stuff. And then you guys be saying like, what the hell you doing here and stuff like that. Don't change the menu. So I don't know. This could be a good learning opportunity as well too, to get some feedback and stuff, depending on how you guys feel about it. But other than that, yeah, let me go ahead and sign off. I do see some people are coming in here and stuff. I want to give a shout out to everyone who did join the live stream. I know it came out of nowhere with this one, but I had to start, doing more streaming and stuff like that. But if y'all could do me a favor by hitting that like and the subscribe button, I greatly appreciate it. And until next time, I see everyone in the next stream or the next video. Take care. Bye.